Who was Cleopatra? You've heard of her, but how much do you know about her? Who was this iconic Egyptian queen whose story has inspired countless works of art and literature over the centuries? Was she really as beautiful as they say? And why is she still such a well-known figure even today? Let's take a closer look at her life and legacy to find out. Welcome to my channel. Today we'll be answering the question, who was Cleopatra? If that sounds interesting, then please consider subscribing so you don't miss any new videos. Cleopatra was the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic kingdom of Egypt, the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt. She took the throne in 51 BC after the death of her father, Ptolemy XII, whom she shared it with her younger sister, Arsinoe IV. The Ptolemies were a Greek dynasty descended from one of Alexander, the great generals who had seized control of Egypt after his death. Though they were Greek, they took on many Egyptian customs and traditions, including building massive tombs for themselves and worshipping the Egyptian gods. When Cleopatra ascended to the throne, Egypt was a shadow of its former self. Its power and influence had been greatly diminished by the rise of Rome, and it was now little more than a client state. However, Cleopatra was determined to restore Egypt to its former glory, and she began by modernizing the government and economy. She introduced a new currency, reformed the tax system, and established closer ties with the Roman Empire. Cleopatra was also a patron of the arts and sciences, and she used her wealth to build great monuments and support scholars and poets. However, it was her relationship with the Roman general Julius Caesar that made her famous throughout the known world. In 48 BC, when Caesar was fleeing assassins who had murdered him, he landed in Egypt seeking asylum. Cleopatra, who was only 21 years old at the time, was immediately smitten with the famous Roman, and she went to great lengths to win his favor. According to Plutarch, she had herself lowered into Caesar's bedroom in a basket by a rope. When he awoke, he was so startled by her sudden appearance that he drew his sword, but quickly put it down when he saw that it was just the young queen. Cleopatra and Caesar fell madly in love and spent a whole night together. He called her the Little Egypt, and she bore him a son, Caesarion. Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC, but Cleopatra held on to power in Egypt for another 6 years. During that time she gave birth to Caesar's heir, Ptolemy XV Caesar, who would have been the first Caesar to rule Egypt if he had lived. But the boy died at age 5, leaving Cleopatra without an obvious heir. In 41 BC, Cleopatra met another Roman, Mark Antony, who became her third powerful lover. Antony was a general and triumvir of Rome, and he was one of 3 men who held power in the empire after Caesar's assassination. He and Cleopatra had a son, twins, Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene. And for a time, it seemed as though Antony might make Cleopatra queen of all of Egypt. But Antony's plans for his beloved were thwarted by his wife Octavia, whom he had married in a political alliance and who was the sister of Augustus. When Antony threatened to divorce her so he could marry Cleopatra, Octavia took her own life. But even that didn't save him from his own mother, Julia, Drusilla, who convinced Octavian to go to war against Cleopatra and Antony. The result was the First Triumvirate Civil War. While it lasted, Cleopatra refused to bow to Octavian, even as Antony's forces were defeated one by one. She fought back with propaganda, portraying Octavian as a usurper who was stealing her children from her. It was a losing battle. By 32 BC, Antony was dead and Cleopatra was on the run. According to tradition, when news of Antony's defeat reached her, she prepared to flee to India with her lover and her children. But before they could leave, Octavian's emissaries arrived demanding that she surrender. Rather than submit, she chose death. The story goes that she allowed an asp, an Egyptian snake, to bite her as she sat on her throne. While it's a dramatic way to go, there are doubts that it actually happened. Historians believe it may have been a rumor spread by Octavian to make Cleopatra look foolish, or perhaps even an invention by Shakespeare for his play about her life. What we do know is that she died in 30 BC at the age of 39. So that's who Cleopatra was. A powerful and influential queen who played a key role in the affairs of the late Roman Republic. But why is she still such a well-known figure even today? There are several reasons for Cleopatra's enduring fame. First, she was the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt, and there's always been something mysterious and alluring about Egypt. Second, Cleopatra is often portrayed as a symbol of female empowerment, a strong, intelligent woman who wasn't afraid to use her sexuality to get what she wanted. Finally, Cleopatra's story has inspired countless works of art, literature, film, and television. From Shakespeare's play to the recent series starring Gal Gadot, Cleopatra's story continues to fascinate us centuries after she died. But what did she look like? Most people picture her as a beautiful woman with exotic features and long black hair. However, we have no surviving portraits of Cleopatra, so we don't know for sure what she looked like. The most popular image of her is based on a single coin minted during her lifetime, which shows a woman with a vertical stripe of eyeliner above her eyes. This look, along with her dark hair and skin, has come to be seen as the quintessential Cleopatra look. However, it's important to remember that this is just one interpretation of what Cleopatra may have looked like. We can't be sure what she looked like since no surviving portraits exist. So the image we have in our minds is based on a single coin and our own imaginations. So those are the basics of who Cleopatra was. But what do you think? What's your favorite thing about her story? And what do you think she looked like? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.